President Trump promised to deport more than 10 million.
On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history.
Lighting a fire under ice to identify people without legal status and deport them. The dragnet catching people across big cities and small towns, construction sites to colleges, family events to farms, where more than a third of all farm workers are said to be undocumented. Now, in this special report from ABC 10 News San Diego and the Scripps News Group, the hidden price of the crackdown. Does making the Trump math work mean the end of American agriculture as we know it? This is Harvest Interrupted, the cost of enforcement. I'm Laura Acevedo in Ventura County. President Trump's hardline approach to illegal immigration began long before he walked into the White House.
Under the Trump administration, if you came in illegally, you were apprehended immediately and you were deported.
A promise made that he promised to keep, beginning on day one, declaring a national emergency at the southern border to protect the country from what he called an invasion. The military tasked with supporting border enforcement. Thousands of service members deployed into newly established national defense areas. Quotas imposed for ICE agents to detain some 10,000 individuals every week, anytime, anywhere. Schools, hospitals, churches, all previously protected locations, now considered fair game. This half hour, where we are right now and the impacts you haven't seen. Impacts from President Trump's on again, off again, then back on again enforcement at farms and inside hotels. The effects are showing up not just on the individuals, but on the overall economy. Maya Rodriguez leads us off.
The Trump administration's immigration policy reversing course when it comes to several industries across the country. The Department of Homeland Security now says it will conduct immigration raids at farms, hotels, and restaurants, all places where undocumented migrants may be working.
We're going to look everywhere, but I think the biggest problem is the inner cities.
DHS going further, telling Scripps News, quote, worksite enforcement remains a cornerstone of our efforts to safeguard public safety, national security, and economic stability. Immigration advocates say the raids could further impact the economy, including, for example, higher prices for food and construction.
Those are the sectors of the economy that will be affected most if there is heavy enforcement machinery.
American businesses, American consumers, and the economy is going to also get the short end of the stick on that as well.
According to the American Immigration Council, mass deportations could reduce the U.S. gross domestic product by as much as 6.8%. Maya Rodriguez, Scripps News Group, Washington.
The federal government estimates 4 in 10 farm workers in America are here without legal status, doing backbreaking work for pennies on the dollar. Advocates say Americans wouldn't do that same work for the same wages. I spent a day with a farm worker here in California to get a sense of what his work is really like and what would happen if he weren't here to do it. It's about 5:30 in the morning. And Benito is getting ready for another day of work. His wife prepares to send him off with a homemade meal.
A las 5 de la mañana empezamos a alistarnos.
It's fuel for the long day ahead. Once everything is packed up, boots on, and it's off to a field near Camarillo, California.
Pues ahorita estamos empezando a cosechar el cilantro.
It's now about 6 in the morning. Benito will pick and pack cilantro all day. He's asked us not to show his face out of fear. It's not far from this field that federal immigration agents entered and detained about 40 workers on a farm in early June.
Nadie está trabajando tranquilo ahorita.
He tells me no one works in peace anymore. Cilantro picking, he explains, is back-breaking work.
Te duele la espalda, te duele.
Benito says he has constant pain in his back, knees, and feet from the bent-over position they're in for hours at a time.
Cortarlo, amarrarlo, empacarlo.
He shows me how they cut, tie, and pack it, 1 bushel at a time. 30 bushels fit into a box, and he makes $1 for every box packed. On a good day, that's about 150 to 200 boxes. Since he gets paid by how much he picks, he couldn't stop to sit with me for an interview. We had to talk as he worked. He let me try, and while I picked and gathered just 1 bushel,
7, 8.
he was able to pack 8. As he makes his way down the rows of cilantro, his wife isn't far behind.
Ella sí apenas regresó a trabajar.
Today is her first day back to work in 20 days since that raid at the farm nearby. She stayed home out of fear. On this day, the couple started as part of a crew of 4. At around 9 in the morning, they're told they need to pack a total of 700 boxes for an order. By the afternoon, 2 additional workers have joined them to help. But as they pick up the pace, Benito cuts his finger and is forced to take a break. Quickly heading back to his car to stop the bleeding, clean the wound, bandage it, glove it, and get back to work. As the end of the workday approaches, boxed up cilantro lines the field. A truck arrives and moves in. It's time to load up. One by one, they're loaded onto pallets. In roughly 10 hours of work, the crew packed up 794 boxes.
Se va a echar a perder nada más.
Benito says crops like this cilantro would rot if workers continued to be detained or deported.
No creo que alguien más venga.
And he tells me he doesn't think everyday Americans are interested in doing this type of work for such little pay. We're calling this half hour Harvest Interrupted because that's exactly what is happening on farms across America. Some workers here without their papers are either getting deported or they're not showing up anymore. Other workers who have legal status are afraid they'll be deported anyway, putting themselves or their families at risk, as we've been hearing all across the Scripps News Group.
Well, the other day when things got a bit harder, some didn't come in. They didn't come in out of fear. But we can't stop coming in because you know yourself. People need the money to eat, to pay rent, and so they take a risk.
The loss of farm workers is already having an impact on produce prices, not to mention the threat of tariffs on imported produce from Mexico and Canada. Experts now saying for every million people deported, tens of thousands of jobs held by U.S. citizens will be lost too. We went inside a farm whose owner recently went public about what she thinks could happen to our nation's food supply if farm workers continue to get deported. Lisa Tate is no stranger to life on a farm.
My family came to Ventura County in 1876.
She's a 6th-generation farmer. I met her on a property purchased by her great-grandfather in the 1920s. The crops grown here, like the lemons, get exported globally.
All out over the country, throughout the world, so they'll be in Walmart and Costco and Albertsons and all the stores in between.
But in recent months, Tate's day-to-day has changed, interrupted by the federal government's immigration enforcement in the region. Her properties haven't been targeted, but the activity so concerning to her, she penned this opinion piece in the local paper, calling what's happening un-American, saying she originally supported efforts to remove individuals with serious criminal histories from the community, now saying it appears to be less about public safety and more about intimidation.
I feel like the rules keep changing. but regardless, I mean, the people that are showing up every day to work, working 2-3 jobs, they don't have time to be out there, conducting their criminal activities on the side.
In Tate's opinion, most Americans have no idea where their food comes from.
I think that we have the luxury of Americans to not have to think about that. So I don't think most people do. I think our food just shows up in the grocery store.
She also thinks they don't realize the powerful workforce fueling the industry. Once considered essential during the pandemic, now the target of federal agents.
You had the benefit of undocumented workers for your probably entire life, and every single person in America benefits from undocumented workers.
En este país tengo
Miguel, who asked us not to show his face, works in Ventura County. He's lived in the U.S. for 30 years.
¿Disfruta usted del trabajo? ¿Qué es lo que más le gusta de este trabajo?
lo que más me gusta.
When I asked him what he loves most about his job, he says the agriculture itself and the fact that every day is different.
¿Puede usted trabajar tranquilo?
No.
He says working isn't peaceful anymore. He now works in fear.
Nos afecta moralmente.
And the enforcement, he says, is affecting their morale, affecting families who he's seen be torn apart. This region, a part of California's agricultural contribution to the nation. Over a third of the country's vegetables and over 3/4 of the country's fruits and nuts are grown in the state. Tate says there's been a worker shortage for decades, even before this immigration enforcement, and says instead of the current approach, there needs to be a solution.
The agricultural industries have been lobbying for decades for a worker program that will work.
The U.S. does currently have a seasonal farm worker visa program called the H-2A visa, the legal way, if you will. But Tate says it's costly and not practical. And if meaningful immigration reform doesn't happen soon, Tate feels we could all soon be paying the price.
For sure, there will be fruit that doesn't end up harvested.
Reporters, including our White House correspondent Haley Bull, have asked the Trump administration to respond to these concerns. Here's some of what Trump recently said.
I'm never going to do anything to hurt our farmers. And you could also say the leisure business, etc. There are some businesses where you have a disproportionate amount of people that are the people that you're talking about. At the same time, we have to get the criminals out of our country. And we're looking at doing something where, in the case of good, reputable farmers, they can take responsibility for the people that they hire.
Ahead, more of our special coverage, the impact of these raids just beginning to be felt, and a Scripps News Group investigation into where some of these people are being taken before they're deported. We're hearing from a lot of Latino businesses saying they're hanging on by a thread, if that. Their workers and customers, either with legal status or without it, are fearful about coming in, worried that they'll be the next to get caught up in an ICE raid, as the Scripps News Group's Lanita Brooks reports from Kansas City, Kansas.
Past decade, Central Avenue and KCK has become the heart of a thriving Latino community. But Edgar Galicia, executive director of Central Avenue Betterment Association, says in the last 6 months that has changed.
Everybody's struggling. Nobody wants to come out.
He cites fear of ICE raids and deportation as the deterrent.
People start talking about their fear, their concerns, their family members. We have a lot of mixed status families.
It's something one business owner has experienced firsthand.
A lot of customers are, a little frightened of coming out. They call ahead of time to see if there is any immigration nearby or anything.
Some people have even stopped showing up for work or switched careers to play it safe. And the fear is not isolated to undocumented people.
Your color, your background, your language is singling you out to be stopped, to be questioned, and to be roughed.
In Kansas City, Kansas, Lanita Brooks, KSHB 41 News.
President Trump's border czar Tom Homan has consistently defended ICE raids at workplaces, pointing to the legal programs that are designed to bring in labor. He says Congress is really to blame for not reforming immigration laws.
We're going to flood the zone, and sanctuary cities will get exactly what they don't want. More agents in their neighborhoods, more worksite enforcement, because we're going to get the bad guy. If you want to make it difficult for us, we'll do it. It'll take more time, it's less efficient, but we're not going to stop until we find that guy.
Up next, a new boost for private prisons in America, a temporary stopping point for detained immigrants. What we found in our investigation is next. Under pressure to deliver on Trump's campaign promises, ICE is now detaining more than 1,000 people every day as the president and his team press for that number to grow threefold. Before these people are deported, they have to go somewhere. And a Scripps News investigation found private prisons are increasingly filling that gap. Our report now from Patrick Terpstra.
CoreCivic, one of the nation's largest operators of private jails, owns this vacant detention center in Leavenworth, Kansas. The Trump administration signed a no-bid contract with CoreCivic to confine more than 1,000 people here arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
We're a few miles south of the main part of town right now, and as we make this turn, oh, there it is. That's it. It's surprisingly a small campus.
Contracts to put more immigrants in private jails with extra funding in President Trump's big bill in Congress are boosting companies like CoreCivic, as its CEO said in a recent earnings call.
Never in our 42-year company history have we had so much activity and demand for our services as we are seeing right now.
But Leavenworth, this city in the middle of red state Kansas, is pushing back, opening a window into problems with for-profit jails our Scripps News investigation uncovered. A lawsuit filed by the city of Leavenworth against CoreCivic describes the jail here as an absolute hellhole. Mayor Holly Pittman is leading a fight to make CoreCivic get city approval to detain immigrants here.
CoreCivic, I need to know that they're going to be able to work with us on investigations so that people are going to be taken care of, our inmates are going to be taken care of, the officers are going to be taken care of.
But it is very clear Leavenworth has a lot of concerns about CoreCivic reopening.
We've had a lot of former corrections officers come out and tell their story. We've had a lot of family members who have not had good experiences in CoreCivic.
Stories from people like William Rogers, who was a corrections officer at the center when it housed federal criminal inmates before emptying out when the Biden administration stopped using private jails.
Had you worked in a jail or prison before?
Never have. But CoreCivic, if you're breathing, they'll hire you.
Rogers worked in the jail beginning in 2016, a year before a blistering Justice Department audit documented a chronic lack of staffing at the facility. At times, not enough people to man security posts identified as mandatory to run the facility in a safe and secure manner. Things got so bad, Rogers says, an inmate was able to attack him.
He came up behind me. I should have known better, right? And he hit me in the back of the head with a tray. I didn't have the bubble that was supposed to be working that day on me. It working. No.
You didn't have the right amount?
Too short staffed. So the only thing I was dependent on was the cameras.
It would take 14 staples to close his head wound. He and other insiders also told us about inmate overcrowding. In 2017, the Justice Department found that officials at CoreCivic in Leavenworth uninstalled beds before an inspection to conceal that they were triple bunking detainees.
People were everywhere.
Before being moved to a federal prison to do time for conspiring to commit arson and insurance fraud, Tina Shank-Little was held at CoreCivic in Leavenworth.
Lack of feminine hygiene products, the lack of toilet paper, lack of blankets, lack of mats.
Some might say this is detention. This is what jail or prison is supposed to be like.
That's not what jail or prison is supposed to be like. Prison compared to that was a dream. And it very much was. It was a night and day difference.
CoreCivic acknowledged there were challenges during an 18-month period in a tight labor market during the pandemic. The jail has its supporters. We caught up with Republican State Representative Pat Proctor, who told us opponents of CoreCivic are standing in the way of 300 jobs and more than $1 million worth of investment the company would pump into their community.
I think it's pretty clear that the city's not going to give them a permit because the city government's dominated by Democrats that are using this red herring issue of a special use permit as a way to stop President Trump's immigration policy. I wish we could just get out of the way and let it happen.
A security guard in a vehicle watched as we took note of what appeared to be workers unloading boxes and testing alarms.
I want to show you something there's been a lot of talk about in Leavenworth, and that is the parking lot here at CoreCivic. People asking, why are there so many cars here for a facility that's not even supposed to be open?
CoreCivic declined a request for an interview, but sent a statement saying, "We are not currently caring for anyone at the Leavenworth site, and that our facility will operate with strong oversight and accountability from our government partners, including regular audits and on-site monitors."
I know you saw this quote. A judge said it was an absolute hellhole. Why would you want an absolute hellhole in your community?
Yeah, well, I can't really speak to the specifics of what that judge may have been talking about, but jails are bad places. That's why you try to follow the law and not get put in jail.
But a 2016 federal audit found higher rates of safety-related incidents at private or contract prisons. There were more assaults, uses of force, lockdowns compared to federal prisons. The report also called out CoreCivic, saying the company's contract prisons had the highest rates of inmate fights and inmate assaults on other inmates. Just weeks ago at CoreCivic's state prison in Trousdale, Tennessee, more than 100 officers had to put down a riot. The Justice Department under President Biden had been investigating that correctional center, saying it has been plagued by serious problems since it first opened its doors in 2016. Former Leavenworth Corrections Officer William Rogers sees a pattern.
As I talked to people in Trousdale, they came into Trousdale telling the same stories that they're telling up in Leavenworth. It's like, oh my God. And I've seen it prior with these inmates not getting what they're supposed to. I've seen it prior. I experienced it firsthand. Tell me how it's going to be different.
CoreCivic declined to say when the first group of immigrants may become the latest detainees locked up in this prison town. Patrick Terpstra, Scripps News Group, Leavenworth, Kansas.
President Trump's order to round up immigrants in America did not come as a surprise. It's exactly what he said he would do. The speed has been dizzying. The decision to deport people even without a hearing has proven controversial. This half hour, our goal hasn't been to litigate those policies. It has been to simply explore the impact, not just on the impacted communities, but on our broader economy and country. For now, reporting from Ventura County, I'm Laura Acevedo.